we've been talking about managing the home, and this is kind of a smooth transition from last week, really, to make last week a little bit more practical, seeing how it fleshes out in daily life. So we're going to talk about the secret to managing housework. So yeah, I'm glad you could all be here. Okay. So, the secret to destroying chaos in the home. What is it?
Order.
You ready for this? What do you think? What do you think?
I said order.
Order. And how do we create order? I want to suggest we cannot do it as mothers and of the home, as keepers of the home. We cannot do it all by ourselves. The secret to destroying chaos is train your children to work. Train your children to work. Now, often we miss this. I've been around New Life 10, 15 years, talked with a lot of families, and I know that this is not normal for every family, that the children are really working and serving in the home. Often moms feel that it's their job to do everything, and they could feel that pressure from culture. They could feel that pressure like traditions, you know, where mom does everything, is expected to do everything. Or they could feel that pressure from their husband. And she thinks that if she chooses to be a stay-at-home mom, then she should be busy. She should be doing all the work because she's a stay-at-home mom, especially. But I think often she's failing also. The reason why she misses the secret is because she's failing to see her role as a manager. You know, if you think of like a manager of Burger King, like what are they doing? They're actually not flipping the burgers, but they're actually making sure everyone else is doing their work. And so I think oftentimes what makes our homes disordered and what's disorganized about it is we don't have a manager. We've got mom trying to do everything. She's trying to flip the burger, she's trying to make the french fries, she's trying to make the shake, she's trying to do it all herself. So that's one reason we miss it. This secret to destroying chaos in the home. Other times I think we miss it because moms are untrained in keeping the home. If you weren't trained, and now you're a mom, then you are doing you're making all your effort is just to figure out how to keep the home. And it's really hard to throw children into the mix. It's like with cooking with kids. It's easier to do by yourself. Yeah. It's harder to involve kids in cooking. It's more complicated. And so often we don't involve kids in managing the home because it's more complicated. Sometimes moms are just undisciplined, and I've seen this as well, that they would rather be shopping and going on play dates, not being home, being out. And so keeping the home running smooth and not being a burden to their husbands is not really their focus. Parents often don't see, and this is the main thing I want to talk about today, is this opportunity we have to build character through teaching children to work. We can really use that as a tool to build character in our children that we talked about last week. But we don't see this. We miss this. And lastly, I think some moms grew up and they were overworked. Maybe they were in a family where the children were expected to do everything and they're like the servant slaves of the family. They were overworked. Maybe mom was out working a job. They were home expected to keep the house. And so then when they're older, they feel guilty about having their kids work because they were expected to work but work too much. So I think that can be another reason why we miss this. But as you can see here, we've got some girls from church here, and this is the house we renovated. And these wonderful tweens came in and just busted a move in this room, did an awesome job of scouring and cleaning this because they had been taught to work. So I'm going to talk to you today about the benefits of involving your kids in housekeeping and how this secret is going to create peace in your home and benefit everyone. So, many hands make light the work. This is a Okay, something maybe we've heard before, but it's really true in the sense of the home. If as a mom, you try and do everything, you are going to feel continually discouraged because it's just too much. So we need to start young and delegate work to the kids. Seeing ourselves as a manager as early on as we can. Mom really can't do it all, and she shouldn't do it all, because by delegating and using a chore system in your home, we're going to build character into our kids, we're going to give them vital skills, and we're going to get our houses clean. So work is vital. It develops character. And children learn these important heart attitudes that we're going to talk about, and they're going to get skills to practically run a household. We need to think of our kids as parents in training, not just the girls here, which they are, but all of our kids. We need to raise them to be able to have families of their own. So thinking generationally, we need to think about, okay, we need to raise them with the skills they need to manage a home. Now, unfortunately, my mother had a wonderful mother who was very German, very hard worker. She had 2 kids, and my grandmother just did everything. So my mom had a brother who was 7 years younger. She was kind of like an only child for 7 years, so my grandmother could do a lot, and she stayed home. So my mom did not learn anything. She didn't learn how to cook, clean, anything. So when she had her first apartment, she was like in a panic. I mean, she just was a mess. She didn't know how to do anything, and she was frustrating for her. And so she did not want us to have that same overwhelm and frustration. She's like, I'm going to train my kids. And she was very diligent to break down for us how to clean our rooms. She would come in, and when our rooms would be a disaster, and she would take us through how to clean a desk, how to order our rooms, how to make places for things, and showing us where to put things. She spent a lot of time training us because she wanted us to be ready to run our own homes. So I think a really key character trait or heart attitude that work develops in us is a servant's heart. And I really feel like this was the Lord to share about this, because I wrote this, and then I got an email from a guy who just kind of sends out like encouraging words. It was all on having a servant's heart, and I got that yesterday. And I was like, wow, Lord, you really want to speak this to us. So we come from a lot of different backgrounds when it comes to work, but I want us to think about the biblical sort of model. As Christians, we are called to walk in the footsteps of Jesus. That's what a follower of Jesus walks in his footsteps. He was prophesied of in Isaiah. We have what's called the servant songs, and there are prophecies of the servant who was to come. And the servant was going to bring salvation to all, to the Gentiles. And then in the New Testament, Jesus, in Philippians, it says, excuse me, that he humbled himself and made himself like a bondservant, taking on human flesh on our behalf and laying down his life for us. So we see Jesus fulfilled the prophecies in Isaiah that a servant, he was made as a bondservant on our behalf. So Jesus was the servant that fulfilled the prophecies in Isaiah. And you can read more about that. But the words that Jesus said show his heart. He said, I didn't come to be served, but to serve. He did not come to be served, it says in Matthew 20:28, but to serve, to give his life as a ransom for many. He also told a story that said, and I actually posted this on my computer screen just for me as a mom to remind me. He said, who's greater? When you recline at the table and you sit to eat, is it the one who's being served that's greater, or the one who's serving? Of course, it's the one sitting down, right? But I am among you as one who serves. That's powerful to me. Like this is kind of, he's saying, this is kind of how it is, you know. The one, usually the person, the important person is the one that's sitting, eating, and the servant is maybe not as important, but I am among you as one who serves, like the servant. That's Luke 22:27. So he sets this example of, he comes as the servant, laying down his life for us. And then in the New Testament, we are directly commanded, all believers, to serve one another in love. Galatians 5:13. All believers are commanded to serve one another in love. And more specifically, in 1 Timothy 5:10, women, the woman, I mentioned this before, the woman of high reputation, the woman who has a good reputation is one who has nurtured her children and who has washed the feet of the saints. 1 Timothy 5:10. She's the one who's washed the feet of the saints. So she has a heart of service. The woman, the godly woman, has this heart of service. So what we see here from Scripture is this. Everyone in the family is called to live out a servant's heart. Everyone's working on gaining this heart attitude of service. We're all called to follow in Jesus' footsteps and to follow this just model of servanthood. This is how, as mothers, we show love to our husbands and children. Our husbands are called to servant leadership. You know, they're called to serve, but their role is leading, servant leadership. But I want you to think about the fact that your children, if you're raising them up and discipling them as in the Lord, that you're raising them up to be servants. You want to raise them up with that same heart attitude of service. So should mom be doing everything in the home? I would suggest not. Because how are they going to develop a heart of service if mom is the only one serving in the home? Or if dad is the only one serving in the home? So, not only service, but work develops character. And I'm going to pass some of these out. Choose a card. Choose a card. Choose a card. I'm just going to get some of you guys talking here. Take a look at some of these. Take a look at these character qualities that you have in your hand. I don't have some for everybody, I'm sorry. But you can chime in. And I want to talk about other character traits, other character heart attitudes that kids can get from working. Now, what do you think the ones you're holding on to? How can you see, like if kids were working in the home doing chores, how would they get that character trait?
Obedience. They're obeying. I mean, exactly what you're asking them to do. They're learning that concept of obeying mom and dad by listening to the chore that mom and dad are saying they should do.
Exactly. Obedience. Can you read for us the definition of obedience on this?
Obedience, doing what is expected of me cheerfully, immediately, and thoroughly.
And then the scripture on the back?
Children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well-pleasing unto the Lord.
So you might think, if you had your child, if you wanted your child to work, that she's going to say, or he's going to say, but I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And so you can consider that having your children work and do chores is giving them an opportunity to learn obedience to your commands. Now, we're going to discuss at the end how to make chores age appropriate and easily, to make it not easy, but because learning obedience is not easy, but to make it something that they can do that's very, very, very within the realm of their abilities. Chores that are within their realm of abilities to do. But I want you to think about that giving kids chores is giving them an opportunity to learn obedience. That when you say, go throw this diaper away, when they're really little, like a 15-month-old could throw a diaper away. You are already beginning, here's the opportunity to take last week, which is working on heart attitudes, into very practical, day-to-day, go throw this diaper away for mommy. That's teaching obedience. It's giving an opportunity for the child to learn obedience. So obedience, that's one. Along with this, I want to mention, I don't think there's a card for this one, so I'll just throw it in here. Can you get this in the... So through work, children can learn obedience. And this is a really key one. It's almost like a first step to obedience, is attentiveness. Attentiveness is like a deer who perks up his ears in the forest when he hears sound. It's a listening with the ears, eyes, and heart. So we actually have to teach children, almost like before we teach them to obey, to be attentive. Because if they don't hear our words or our commands, then they're going to have trouble obeying them because they never heard in the first place. So your kids might be playing, and they're looking here, looking there, and you're telling them to do something. They're not stopping to be attentive. So attentiveness is a character trait that's part of obedience, something that a child can learn. When you say your child's name, I would say, go throw this diaper away. They can begin to learn attentiveness. Mommy's saying my name, looking at their face, listening. It's something kids can learn through a chore system. Okay, what else do we have?
Self-control.
Okay, how can kids gain self-control? Through?
I think when they start throwing a tantrum, or getting upset or angry, or talk to them, I would think, and to calm them down to control their feeling at that time.
So can you relate it to work and chores? Like, how can they learn self-control through doing chores? Like, you as a parent, expecting them to do chores, how can they learn self-control in that?
And what I'm currently doing would be like a reward system type of thing. Like, so
Okay.
they'd probably say, if I said, please help mommy clean your room, and they don't want to, or I'll do it later, or 5 minutes, or try to negotiate, I'd say no. I said, you're gonna clean your room, and if you do this, then we'll do X, Y, Z.
Okay.
That's
So-
how I currently.
Okay, so can you read again the definition
Sure.
of it?
Controlling my desires to be more like Jesus.
So how are they learning to control their desires to be more like Jesus?
What I say now is like, well, I don't even know. I don't know.
Any other thoughts? Think about self-control. How do children develop the character trait of self-control through doing chores? That's the question.
It's like they have to learn to delay gratification by doing the work first, and then they could potentially get their reward. So they have to control those impulses to play, or to eat a snack, or to eat candy, and get the work done first. So it's like waiting, but also like denying themselves of those privileges. Like Jesus took upon the nature of a servant, even though he had all the luxuries of a king.
He gave up. He gave up what he wanted. So they're giving up what they wanted. You know, their desires. They're curbing those desires.
So what would you say to them? Like, to relate it to Jesus, then what would you actually say?
I think you can say, well, you could say this: he who hath no rule over his spirit is like a city that's broken down and without walls.
Like,
That's the scripture on the back.
right.
You are learning to have a rule over your spirit. I mean, you don't like to do this, you don't want to do this, you'd rather do something else, but we're learning to be like Jesus, and Jesus had self-control. Okay, so we need to control our desires We need to say no to those things and yes to what God has for our life, which is right now doing these chores.
It was like, I would chime in by saying whatever you know they really like whatever that kind of like the little passion, having them understand like, wait to do that, first do this, like this is a priority. Like I know with Israel, sports is his thing, so I try to get him to understand like, if you want that to do sports, if you want to play, you have to do this first.
The reward system you're saying?
It's like a reward system, but it's also teaching them to prioritize and have like those responsibilities in order. And it takes self-control to do what you need to do first before what you want to do.
I just said the other day, like what we were learning about last week or the other week, I don't know, somewhere, where like, Jesus brings about blessings, you know, based on you being obeying mom, you know, Jesus will give you blessings, and blessings come in different forms, you know, she was really responsive to that.
Yes.
I want blessings, I want
Yeah.
blessings, you know.
Yeah. And for older kids, often they're the self-control is, to me, it's related to discipline. Like we're teaching children discipline. They need to be disciplined in life for many things. You know, they need to be self-controlled for many things. And little ones with toddlers, self-control is big. Not having a fit and falling down when you have to do something, you know. But as they get older, work actually teaches them discipline. Bethany, did you want to share about the story about the house renovation and how you learned discipline?
When we were renovating our house.
Really loud so the video gets.
When we were renovating our house, we did lots of messy jobs. So doing all the messy jobs, we made messy jobs not so messy.
So yeah, so basically she was telling me that we had to clean up like rat poo, like rat pee, cockroach poo. I mean, we are talking disgusting, gross messes. And we had to go in a house that smelled like pee for like months, okay? But having to work in that environment, having to pull drywall down and dust flying everywhere, wearing a face mask and a handkerchief on her head, Bethany she learned a discipline. It was like going in this gross environment and working day after day after day, developed discipline in her. So now when she cleans the bathroom, like she goes in and she cleans our bathroom every day and cleans the sink and the toilet, it's not a big deal to her. It doesn't gross her out. It doesn't gross her out. She learned a certain discipline, an ability to endure for a short time, something, you know, putting her desires for comfort to the side, endure, and she developed this discipline of work to be able to do smelly work. And I told her, girl, later when you're changing diapers and cleaning up throw up, it's going to be nothing to you because you've already learned to do gross, dirty work, right? And so you're going to be really well prepared. So having our kids do chores helps them develop self-control and discipline. Another word for that is self-government. If you can't control yourself, you're not going to be able to lead other people. Learning self-government is a first step to any kind of government. We're preparing them to be parents, mothers, and fathers who will lead families, and they may lead other things and organizations, and who knows, be the mayor one day, or maybe rule over a state or a nation. And all of it begins with self-government, self-control. Okay, they need to learn to govern their own impulses, and they get that through doing chores. Okay, so what else do we got?
I have responsibility, and it says, doing my best at every job because Jesus is watching.
Okay, can you read the verse?
Yes, it says, and whatsoever you do it heartily unto the Lord and not unto men.
Okay, so how do you think children can learn responsibility through doing chores and being involved with chores?
Maybe like every day, well not every day, but like when they're younger, start off with doing like a small task and a job and tell them this is your job now, and it's your responsibility to get that done every day, something small, and then as they get older, kind of build it up a little bit.
Right, that's definitely how they can learn responsibility. Responsibility is a big thing. I think kids learn through chores. If kids are not doing chores and mom is doing everything, kids will not learn responsibility, okay? It's important for kids to learn responsibility. And they can, like you say, start on a very simple level. This is a book for boys. And I just want to read to you a little bit from this. This is how we're taking last week's lesson, teaching the heart, how you could start your kids with working on these heart attitudes, heart character traits. Ben has an awful lot of stuff. Sometimes he forgets to be thankful for his things. And when this happens, he doesn't pick up his room and it becomes very messy. He may leave his clothes all over his bedroom floor. This doesn't happen very often now. See, Ben is learning to be responsible toward all the things God has given him. You too can learn to be responsible for your things. It's very easy to do. So what you can do is sit down with your kids, and this is great because this actually helps them to find places for things in their room, and it teaches them everything has a place and everything in its place. And this is working with little boys, and then it has a whole chapter on making their bed, responsibility and making their bed. You see, chores are really tied to character. That's what I'm trying to help you to see today, is that it's important to have our kids working. It not only helps us actually manage our homes and get all the work done that needs to be done in the home, but it builds character in them. And we can start when they're very small. Little boys can be working on being responsible for their bed, for their room. And my little boy, he takes care of our chickens. He's working with Dad on being responsible for the chickens and the dog. And increase, like you said, little by little, so that when they're older, they can handle a great deal of responsibility. Okay, what else do we have?
Gratefulness.
Okay.
Being sure to tell God and others thank you. The verse is Ephesians 5:20. Giving thanks always for all things unto God and the Father in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ.
So how do you see that's related? How can kids learn, by doing chores, learn gratefulness?
Well, a lot. For me, I would show my son, look, mommy just did your laundry. Doesn't it smell fresh and clean? Say thank you. Thank you, mommy. So learn, and now he says it on his own. And now he could tell the difference between dirty clothes and clean clothes.
Uh-huh.
And anytime someone says anytime he gets something from anyone, like a compliment, I always say thank you.
Uh-huh.
Say thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So
What if he
at first it started off with I'm doing most of the stuff
Yeah.
because he's too small to do it.
Yeah.
But him to acknowledge it and be
Yes.
thankful.
Yeah.
And now he could be what I'm showing him, like you said with the book.
Uh-huh.
He's like, look at all this stuff you have. You're so blessed. Be thankful. Or just mommy and daddy are here. That's a blessing. Be thankful.
Mm-hmm.
Showing gratitude for the blessings of life, not just materialistic
Yes.
ones, but when people give him a compliment, or
Yes.
the fact that someone plays with him and spends time with him and babysits him or whatever, he should
Yes.
show that he's thankful.
Yes, and just by talking about it, you're beginning to make him aware. Now, what if we went to the next level and he was actually doing the work? Like, he was actually doing the work. How do you think, I love these pictures, they're so cute. How do you think him doing the work would actually build in him a character of gratefulness, Marty?
Well, like yesterday, my son helped me wash the dishes, and he was like, "Oh, Mom, I'm tired." And he's like, "Well," and I guess he thought it was. I mean, he does it with me, but yesterday I made him do all the utensils, and I was like, "Oh, hey, this is going by quickly having someone next to me." But I was like, "See, this is how much work I do all the time. This is why I can't play with you all the time because I have work, you know." And so it's like, "Oh, this is so tiring." So they get to see how much work is put into keeping a house.
When they begin to put the effort in, then they see the cost that's involved. Yeah. I think feeling thankful and saying so is like a first step of gratefulness. But we show gratefulness in the care we take to what we've been given. So if kids are given a lot of stuff in their room and they're not expected to clean it up, and someone else is going to come in and clean it up for them, they don't have the opportunity to show gratefulness by caring for those things. To me, this is related to stewardship. Maintaining our things expresses gratitude for the things that the children have. So as they're maintaining and taking care of their things, they're learning to be responsible for those things, but it's expressing gratitude. Like, I don't just take it for granted that I have these things. I work with my youngest daughter on taking care of books. It's a lesson that's taken us a lot of time. But I feel like it's important that how to take care of a book, you know, and so she only has 2 books because we're still working on being careful with 2 books. Not sitting on books, not throwing books down, putting books away. You know, she can't get more until she learns to steward what she has. And the Bible says this, that if we're faithful with little, then he'll give us more. So we're teaching children to be faithful with little, to steward and show care towards the things that they have by taking care of them, cleaning their rooms, putting their clothes away. They're learning to steward what God has given them. And God's going to give them increase as they learn to steward the things he's given them. So maintaining our things expresses gratitude. It teaches them to steward well. We want them to be good stewards of the things that God's given them. And it's true that when you invest and do work, you see it totally differently. You don't take it for granted. You know, like my kid, I said this before in the cooking lesson, but when my kids cook and they put the food on the table and then the other kids complain about it, they get mad. Like that they're complaining about their food. Now, if they haven't been cooking for a while, they'll complain about my food. And then I know, okay, it's time for them to be more involved here. Because then they remember the sacrifice and it gives them the self-control of their mouth when they want to complain. So involving them in work helps them to appreciate what they have, appreciate clean clothes, appreciate their beds and their toys. So what I want to talk about is, oh wait, did we hit them all? No, we got one more.
I got one more, diligence.
Diligence,
That's
oh yeah.
doing my very best at every task given to me. The verses, whether therefore ye eat or drink or whatsoever ye do all to the glory of the God. 1 Corinthians 10:31.
Okay, 1 Corinthians 10:31. Whether you eat, drink, or whatever you do all for the glory of God. This kind of goes along for me with, if you've heard of diligence and industry, perseverance, these character qualities are also developed through work. This word I have such trouble spelling. Let's see if I can do it right. Okay, so it's the ability to do a hard thing and keep at it. That's diligence. The ability to do a hard thing and keep at it. Do you want your child to learn that? A great opportunity is to give them chores. It's something they can practice every day.
I feel like I need to learn all these things all
Yes.
over again. Like training myself.
Beth Ann, you have another story for this one too, right? About diligence? Okay, I'm going to read this and then we'll talk. If you don't mind. Do you mind? Okay. So this is a really simple book with several character qualities in the front and examples of each one. So diligence. I'm going to read this little story. Okay. This is a way we can connect, like I said, again, last week's lesson with this week. Last week we're talking about shaping our kids' hearts, looking at the inside, what's going on inside. So how do we develop diligence? Well, we're going to use chores as a method, okay? But you can also teach, okay? So we're going to teach with something like this first, okay? And say, hey, hon, we're going to read a story together, okay? We're going to talk about diligence. You know, what's diligence? Well, diligence is keeping at a job, keeping at something that's hard, working hard to accomplish a task. Let me read you this story. Can I go too, pleaded Danny Ellis. His brother, Darren, responded, "No, you better stay home. Chopping and carrying firewood are hard work, and you are too young and too little." Danny frowned. With a hurt look in his eyes, he pulled on his father's pant leg. "Father, I can work almost as hard as Darren. Please give me a chance," said Danny. "All right, son," replied Mr. Ellis. "It's hot and the wood is heavy, so you must take it easy today." Well, all three climbed into the truck and drove to a farm. Mr. Ellis had been given 5 trees to cut down and remove. Chopping down the trees was Mr. Ellis's job. Darren cut the limbs off, and Danny was assigned to stack the wood into big piles. After 2 hours of work, his father and brother took a rest break, but Danny still felt strong. "You two just take it easy. I'll keep working a little longer," he insisted. Darren and his father looked at each other in surprise. They did not think Danny would be so diligent at the hard work. The job was completed and all the wood was stacked in the truck. "Let's all go get a milkshake," said Mr. Ellis, winking at Darren. "I think Danny the diligent deserves it." So there we go. There's a way the kids can see, and this has 3 stories: diligence at home, diligence at work, diligence at play, or diligence at school, diligence at play. You can teach a child about keeping at work, inspire them, and then require it of them. Require that they be diligent by giving them a job to do, a chore, and making sure that they keep at it till they finish it. So they learn diligence, industry, and perseverance. Now, you want to come up and share, Bethany, of your struggle with this?
Wait,
Why don't you come up here? Come up here and you can stand right here. Tell your story. Right here.
When I was a little younger, I had a lot of trouble with perseverance. So we would pray about it every day and pray that I get perseverance. So after a long time of praying, of diligence, and after a long time of praying, I got more diligent.
Thank you, Bethany. So Daddy would pray with her every night when she was like 5. Every night for how long?
Weeks.
A long time.
Weeks. Yeah.
More like probably a year. They focus on diligence with Bethany. She was having a hard time. She'd just get distracted by a butterfly, and so. But the thing is that today, she's found a way to actually stay focused on her task. She gets into cleaning, and she just gets creative with like, what are the chemicals doing and how are they working on the sink? And one time she discovered that the toilet bowl cleaner would actually really make the grout in the bathroom tile like completely white. So she was just scrubbing. She used to scrub a little bit a day, and she's like, "Oh, I could do the whole floor now." So she's scrubbing the whole floor with the mop. Then the next day, she put the mop outside, and the mop like disintegrated. Literally, the sponge was gone. It was like little speckles all over the porch. And I was like, what was in that? And then I found out it was like hydrochloric acid or something is in the toilet bowl cleaner. Some super strong chemical. That was a whoops on my part, but anyways, she found a way. She found a way to stay inspired and be creative in her work, and that's what helped her to be diligent and to continue and to persevere. So sometimes it may require that. If your child is not naturally diligent, it's going to require some effort, some time, some prayer, some focus. But I'm happy to say that she did develop diligent, and she's very diligent now. She is very, she works really hard. So, okay, do we do all the cards?
I have a question. So what do you do if they stop in the middle of the process? I don't know, but like let's say we're raking the leaves and they're all excited about it, and then all of a sudden they get tired 5 minutes later. I guess we should have set our expectations beforehand, like we're going to do the whole thing or we're going to do it for 5 minutes, but let's just say we're going to do this till we're done, and then they don't want to anymore.
Yeah, and
How would you handle
it
that?
depends on the age of the child. Like for older kids, it would be like, well, you're not going to do the next fun thing until you finish what is your responsibility. You know, for a younger child, it might just be that you're standing there, like a very young child, you're actually working with them because you need to constantly be bringing their focus back to their task.
Right.
even when I was training Aziza, even I would, when I was just getting her started, flick her for like distraction because she just was easily distracted. So I use a little training. We're training here, but more often than not, with a young child, you're keeping them beside you. You're reminding them, and the other parts of training come into play. The routine of it, knowing this is something they have to do every day. They might fight it initially, like Aziza was required to fold a basket of laundry. She's very social, and she often would be doing it alone in the basement when I first started her, and she would get really distracted, you know. But having to do it every day, and she knew she had to do it every day, eventually she developed the discipline. Like, this is part of my life. I just have to do this. And she might still get distracted, but there was less resistance because this is the routine of this is what's expected every day. Now, if it's like a chore that's raking leaves you only do once a year, that's a little bit different. You know, that might be a thing of obedience. Well, then we're going back to our obedience. And how are we teaching obedience? We're teaching it by the training methods, depending on if they're just getting started. If they're a little bit older, then we're working with the heart. You know, we might have to sit down and say, sometimes I'll say at the table, wow, so-and-so was really diligent today. She did a really good job. And just praise the ones that are being diligent. And in that way, in a positive atmosphere, you're creating like momentum. You know, I think praise is something that I wish I was better at, but I think is really powerful. But yeah, then we're working with the heart. We need to, maybe if it's a child, like I said, yours are young. So I would say it's more of a thing of teaching them from a book what's expected, and then reminding them, using your training methods. Yeah.
I have another one. Sorry, because I need practical help. So like I have that book. I just got it in the mail yesterday.
Oh, awesome.
The one you just showed. But do you use, and like let's say, so you're working on diligence. Do you read the stories once a day, and then do you provide like supplemental information? Like, I mean, do you get books from the library, or do you just stick with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's helpful to focus on one thing at a time, or one thing for one child.
Right.
You know, but then that was the main thing we talked to her about. For Aziza, it was responsibility. That's one of the main things I talked to her about. You know, so each child kind of has their thing sometimes that you're working with, or like I said before, we worked on humility as a family for a whole year. So maybe you can figure out, what do you want to do? You could just take them through the book, or you could say, you know, we're going to work on diligence for 1 month. Some people do a character trait a month. We're going to do diligence this month. You know, we're going to do attentiveness the next month. If you're homeschooling, you can actually bring all of this into your school day. You know, you can work this into your literature lesson and your, you know, so there's a lot more that opens up to you that way. So, yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you handle when the task, depending on age appropriateness, is not done according to your standards or liking, and then you feel like you just, I gotta do it again, or do it myself so it can be done right?
Yeah, that is a good question. We are sacrificing. We are sacrificing perfection for character training. So our character training is our main goal. And that's hard. I mean, sometimes I just want it to look, so I'll go over after and do it, you know? But I think definitely we're investing our energy into training their hearts and letting the house be second, you know? But also, and I'll move on, because I think we got all of our traits. Yeah, I'll move on. Part of what you're going to do is, let me get to the how-tos, and then we can, oops. Yeah, okay. How to create. Because there's some important keys here. I think that kind of number 2 is going to answer some questions for you. But the first thing is, have a home. If you're going to implement, you're going to delegate chores, and you're going to have a chore system, and this is going to be the way that you're going to manage the tasks in the home. It is really going to help if you have simple organization for the children. Sometimes this means having baskets in your kitchen that are low with the plastic bowls and plates for the toddler kids so they can set their own place. You're going to put them low, not up high where they can't reach them. Or a silverware drawer where the small children can reach and they can take and set the table from the silverware drawer. Things like that. Having your home be simply organized where everything has a place and everything can go in its place. The kids can clearly see where things go. Next week, we're really going to go into this a little more depth in their rooms to talk about their own space, because I've got some really fun ideas. But basically, in general, you want to have open shelving, labeled baskets or labeled cupboards so they can see where things go. Maybe you're going to have your little dust cloths somewhere where they can see, somewhere easy for them to find. That's a key. And the second thing is, I think you all got a handout. Can we pass the handouts around? Maybe they got stuck over there. Does everyone have the handout? Lisa, can we pass these around? So Juanita's question was, what do you do if the job's not done to your liking?
And I would add, without being disrespectful to your husband when chores are offered to be done, but not according to your liking. Just let it be.
Okay.
That's
If
my
you
struggle
want
right now.
to motivate your kids and husbands to be involved in your home, you need to accept what they have to offer, which often will not be exactly how you can do it. Because they're not going to be motivated if they're criticized. So part of it is just saying, okay, I'm letting go of my standards so that everyone can be involved. Because you're going to be most productive as a family with everyone involved. And I really believe God, like we talked about before, having a servant's heart is what God expects of all believers. And so we want to encourage a servant's heart. Perfection is not our goal. Everyone developing a servant's heart is our goal. But I can relate because I'm tidy and I like things tidy, and so sometimes I go over things.
Well, it's more my issue, like the actual sanitation of things. If it's not done the right way, I mean, the baby could get sick, or
Yeah.
That's
For dishes, for
Yeah,
my Ellie
with the
loves, my
bottles.
3-year-old loves to help me with dishes, so I say I have to get away the glass and like the knives and stuff in the sink first, so I'll quickly wash the cups and leave them in the sink.
Yeah, I let Israel
And
pay
then-
over the sink too
And
all the
then,
time.
so this way when
This
I
is
know they're
washing
clean,
dishes.
and then she'll just rewash them. Poorly, probably, but at least they could just dry and they're done.
Yeah.
But the sanitation thing is like my little thing too.
Yeah.
That reminds me of growing up
Dishes.
because I lived with a nurse for a while, and I actually did dishes with a nurse. And so in my home growing up, there were 6 kids, but we also lived in community. So we had a few other single adults living in the house who ate dinner with us every night. Actually, 2 of them were nurses. So my job was to do dishes, but whenever I did it with the nurse, she would make the water as scalding hot as possible and tell me, Holly, the water has to be very, very hot as you can stand it. She probably was feeling the same way, like, oh, these dishes are not going to be clean, and we're going to be eating on them tomorrow, and they're not sanitary, or not sanitized, or whatever. But I think part of it is giving age-appropriate chores. Your sheet that you have shows some jobs that the 2-year-olds can do, and 2-year-olds can do a lot, actually. They can throw diapers away for mommy. They can empty the trash. What are some other ones you see on there for the young ones?
Pick up the toys. That's a big one.
Pick up toys.
Pick up clothes off the floor.
Pick up dirty clothes. Have them do that job maybe instead of cleaning the sink handles,
Well, my kids are 3 and 4, and they put their plates in the sink after we eat, and they wash the table.
Okay, they clear their plates. Yeah. So if you're just requiring of them something they can really do, you know, I don't think you'll have as much a problem with it not being done to your liking, because maybe there are things that are more important, and maybe those are things you want to focus on. But kids aren't going to do it exactly like you. I mean, they're not going to do it as good as you would do it, but they can throw a diaper away probably how you would like it, like in the trash, you know, and so other things too. Just keeping the chores age appropriate is important for them to be a success. And they can increase as they, like we said, when they're faithful with little, you can give them more. As they learn faithfulness with those initial chores, you can give them more. And increase their responsibility little by little. So that's really important. Age-appropriate chores. I just found this online. There's a lot of examples if you look online for, you know, other ideas. Your household might look a little bit different. This kind of was a little bit of a farmy one, but I'm sure that you could find other examples of how other people do it, but age-appropriate is really important. Also, age-appropriate tools. I happen to love this catalog for small hands, and now my kids are older, so I don't really need this as much, but this catalog comes out of the Montessori method of schools, and they have some great tools for little ones. They're so cute, like hanging up clothes. This is for washing windows, and these basins for washing or like taking care of birds, like bird, you know, if they're feeding the birds or whatever, they can use these bowls, and they have just great tools. Small brooms. I got small rakes, small brooms, and a favorite in our family was the carpet sweeper, which people don't really use, but it's great for kids. They use them in the Montessori schools. It's like a vacuum. It's a carpet sweeper, but it's like a vacuum. It doesn't plug in. It's not electronic, and you can order it from this magazine. And they can sweep under the dining room table or in the living room. My sister-in-law was a big proponent of the dustbuster for her little guy. I think he was like 4 when he started using it in the dining room. They didn't have a dog at the time, so he just would dust every time they ate. He would go under the table and clean up with a little dustbuster. It's really easy for them to hold. They like power tools. So my son did that.
That's what I do with Israel. I have a picture.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the best.
Yeah, that's a great one for kids to get.
He loves it because it's like makes loud noises.
Yeah, they feel like, ooh, this is doing something. You know, it's perfect for boys. So, okay, so number 4 is cleaning routine. So if you're going to create and carry out a chore system, you need to have a routine. You need to establish your weekly and daily plan. Like, for example, you need to say, okay, we're going to clean Monday after naps. We're going to do weekly cleaning, okay? Or you need to say, we're going to do this daily before breakfast. And do it at that time every day or every week. Have it written down what you're doing, you know. For older kids, my kids, it's a little bit different. Thomas gets up early with Dad, works for like 2 hours, and Chad oversees his jobs. The girls all have like a meal that they're responsible for. So Beth Ann has lunch. Abby has all the dinner cleanup. She does all the dinner. It's a lot. It really is a lot. They also have afternoon chores. So Abby takes care of the living room and the office every day and does her own laundry. She's 13. Beth Ann is 10, and she takes care of the bathroom every day. We also have once a week in the summer, we had weeding, where everyone did weeding. In the winter, I add like a secondary chore time in the week so that we're covering areas of the house that don't usually get covered, like Aziza does the stairwell and sweeps. Beth Ann does the upstairs bathroom. So we're covering every kind of region of the house is covered by the kids. Now, again, this gets back to what you're saying. I'm not expecting perfection here. I'm seeing my job as a manager. That's what I was saying at the beginning. If you can delegate and see your role as a manager, you're going to be able to get more done in your house. So I'm seeing myself as a manager. I'm not necessarily cleaning. Sometimes I do. But I'm going around, and what I'm doing is I'm checking on them. That's my main thing that I'm doing. While they're doing chores, and making sure they're using the right cleaning supplies, making sure they, if they miss something. So I'm going to get to that a little bit more at the end. So anyways, we've got our cleaning routine, times for everything, our daily and weekly plan, when we're cleaning, when we're expecting them to clean, and we're doing it on a routine. This is part of the training, is using routine to help kids accept their life and not fight us as so much on doing these things. Then I train each job. Now, because I homeschool, I usually would train in the summer. So everyone gets new jobs in the summer, and they kind of look forward to it. By May, they're like, Mom, I'm tired of doing such and such. Can we do new jobs? Can we get new jobs, I'm like, okay, I'm working on it. I'm going to redo the chore system. You're going to get new jobs. And they look forward to going up to the next level and doing something different. So when I train, I'm actually teaching them, walking them through the steps. Like with Aziza, I'm walking her through the steps. How do you fold a man's t-shirt? Where do the dust cloths go? Where do you put the girls' clothes? I'm spending time teaching them each new job. The older girls have trained the younger ones on some of the jobs too. So they know how to do a job. So, Abby used to have the bathrooms. So when Beth Ann took over the bathroom, she's telling her how to do the bathrooms. So the kids can help train as well. But teaching them, and again, I want to go back to what I said before, younger ones need to stay with you. So this was a shift I made, realizing that Aziza, I needed to spend more time with her, being alongside of me. And so these days, she still folds laundry and she still empties the dishwasher, but she goes along with me. So if I'm in the basement, she's in the basement working on her load. And then I'll do a little laundry. We'll both go upstairs together. She's right alongside me. So I'm working in the kitchen, prepping something. She's right alongside emptying the dishwasher. So I can keep my eye on her and I can train her so she knows how to do those jobs well and she stays focused on her task. This is a really super cute book for little ones on We Help Mommy. This helps, I think, in the character training, and it's just cute. And this shows the kids working alongside mom. They're learning to get dressed and working alongside mom, cooking and cleaning and doing their part to set the table. This is a nice little addition to kind of inspire the kids. So, but we're training, okay? We're training each new job, teaching them how to do the job, and then have a checklist for them. So for little ones, I always would start with 3, with their morning routine is their first thing to learn. And I'd have a little paper and I'd say, put a little square, make bed, and I would laminate this for them. This marker's not working too well, but make bed, pick up clothes, get dressed. That's the beginning of chores in our family. A very simple checklist, 3 things on it, 8.5 by 11, attached beside their bed. Okay, that's going to be the first thing. But simple visual lists, my mom was really good with this, especially for little ones. She labeled our drawers, she labeled everything in our room. So these things were very easy, nice handwriting, and a picture too. For little ones, make bed. They don't know how to read actually. So you're going to draw the bed. Okay, you're going to draw a little picture. Put away clothes. You're going to make a little, picture of a shirt here. I mean, this is the most simplest way. These days, though, there are so many things out here like this. This is well used in our family. This is my responsibility chart. Uses magnets, and you pick the chores you want them to do. I found this in lakeshorelearning.com, a paper one with stickers.
Hobby Lobby has them laminated for you.
Hobby Lobby has them laminated. When they're older, this is Thomas's. You can buy this at Lakeshore Learning, something like this, and change out their sheets, and they can dry erase on here. When they're done, check mark.
It's in there.
Then, My daughter, who takes after me, redid the checklist I made for her and made it more organized to her liking, which I was very proud of because that shows me that she is well on her way to managing her house. This is her list that she remade. And I did do a point system with my older girls. If they do all their jobs in the week, they get to pick a prize. So she's got living room, office, just simple plastic checklist. They like to get their points, 8 points per day. And then they write down each day that they did it, you know, did they do their 8 points? Now, let me just say this. I didn't go into this in detail, but about rewards, because it's kind of controversial. Should you give rewards? Should you not? I think that chores should be something that every child in the home should do. Because like I said, it's about creating a servant's heart, and we all need to learn that. I like to reward diligence, so they don't get rewarded just for doing their jobs one day, but if they're really focused and they do every job for the week, for the older ones, I'm happy to reward their diligence. Like, you were really diligent, you stayed focused all week, you got everything done, you can go pick a prize. And I have little laminated cards with different things like, 15 minutes computer time or educational game on the computer they can play. So I'm not against rewarding. I don't think rewarding should be the main thing we're doing. I think kids need to learn to work. They need to learn to develop a servant's heart. But I'm personally not against using it sometimes, But I don't want to get into that too much. The next thing, so you're going to have checklists. This is important, okay? It gives the kids a sense of where I'm going, what do I have to do next, helps them focus. So we're going to give them checklists of some kind. And then inspect, okay? So once you've trained the child, they know how to do the job, then you want to inspect their work because they're going to, how do you know they finished it or not, or what if they leave the job? Part of the character building is you coming in and saying, oh, well, good job, you did everything today that you were supposed to do. Or, oops, did we get distracted and start eating a candy that was left in the basement? Okay, that's where the correction comes in, more instruction. And they will rise to the level of your inspection. So if you're not inspecting, they're not gonna rise. So we need to inspect their work. And it's important to do that at variable times, like not every Monday. They need to not know when you're going to inspect. Sometimes the girls, I don't check this at all. I don't even look over it per day. And then sometimes I do. But that helps them, be consistent with doing it every day. Okay. So that's it. I want to get into some discussion. If anyone has a question right now, I can answer. Or otherwise, we'll break out into discussion. Okay, so let's do this. Let's have, would you mind Lisette leading us? Okay, Lisette and Susan.